On behalf of the University of Strathclyde, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to you to this congregation for the conferment of degrees here in our Barney Hall. Today is a very special day in our university calendar. It's a graduation day, which makes it a day of celebration for our graduates, for all the family and friends, and indeed for all the staff of the university. And I can't think of a better venue in which to start that celebration than here in the Barney. In the United States, they refer to these events as commencement ceremonies, as they use them to signify the beginning of a new journey as opposed to an ending. And it is in this spirit that we also celebrate graduations at the University of Strathclyde. Now, in a few moments, it will be my privilege to cap each of our graduates as their name is called out and they come up on stage to receive their award. The capping tradition has its roots in ancient China, and it's recognized as a rite of passage and as a mark of achievement. And for each of our graduates once capped, they are now part of a community of scholars at the University of Strathclyde that can stretch back over 200 years to the Scottish Enlightenment. So they'll be in very good company. At the close of graduation, we have a reception in our nearby Lord Todd building to which everyone is invited to come along. We also intend to have an academic procession over to the Lord Todd. This normally depends upon the weather, but I think today we're pretty safe to ensure that we have that academic procession because it's such a beautiful day outside. So, in the meantime, I do hope that you enjoy the ceremony. And when you see your loved one come up on stage to receive their award, I would strongly encourage you to celebrate. These occasions don't come round very often, and for many they are once in a lifetime, so please make the most of it. I now formally declare that this congregation for the conferment of degrees is open, and I invite Professor Douglas Brodie, the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, to present our graduates to receive their awards. Thank you.
Vice Principal, in the name of the University and by the authority of Senate, I present to you these students for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy for Research and Creative Writing, Melissa Sterling Reid. For Research and Journalism, Fiona Merrill Mackay. For Research in Spanish, Maria del Mar Para Omeldo. And for the degree of Bachelor of Arts in English, Christopher Mark Quinn. Christopher Albert Young. Andrew Galloway Curry. Lisa Foley. Hannah Lillian Forsyth. Chloe Elizabeth Lindsay. Sophie Elizabeth Ann McKendrick. Eve Mary Mackenzie. Ross O'Sheen Mackenzie. Carla McNeilage. Caitlin Marshall. Caitlin Maeve Mellon. Ida Okalsaka. Hayley Patton. Holly Elizabeth Wade. Olivia Watt. Ailey Willis. Francesca Wilson. Alicia Mimi Flower. And in English and History, Victoria Lees Bull. Oh. And in English and Journalism and Creative Writing, Emily Lucy Sarah Abigail Olive Francis Black. Innes William McGarry. Nikki Brennan. Sarah Bresciani. Rebecca Gallagher. Ewan Thomas Green. Saskia Mary Harper. Rebecca King. Catherine Louise Taylor. Poppy Watson. And in English and Politics and International Relations, Karina Ann McTaggart. And in English and Spanish, Rebecca Russell. And in French and Education, Lauren McGugan. And in French and Italian, Callum David Spears. Rachel Russell Brotherston. Amy Ann McGonigal. Catherine McGonigal. Eve Elizabeth O'Hare. Jennifer Ruth Mason. And in French and Politics and International Relations, Katie Schottner. And in French and Spanish, Georgia Maria Burney King. Kirsty Victoria Frame. Holly Steeples. Jesme Joyce Wales. Sarah Boyd. Caitlin Beth McElhenney. And in Intercultural Communication and Global Business, Yang Li Yun. And in Italian and French, Claire Catherine Gallagher. And in Journalism and Creative Writing in English, Jenny Bergenheim. Dylan Blythe. Catherine Elizabeth Flynn. Mary Claire Hughes. Caitlin Sylvia McNeil. Katrine Bowerslev. Justin Patrick Bowie. Mary Boyle. Elizana Ruby Coltman. Michaelia Friel. Lewis Gibb. Erin Watson Kerrigan. Dasa Kozova. Andrew McKissock. Rhys Nelson. Sarah Pachi Aroni. Louise Nicole Ramsey. Benjamin Joseph Rogers. Helen Freya Schimmeld. Disislava Trychevsiski. Rebecca Sarah Elizabeth Warwick. Jonathan Pettit. And in Journalism and Creative Writing in French, Katie Olivia McIvinny. Francesca Masculo. Maurizio Vertucci. Rebecca Keithley-Cook. And in journalism and creative writing and history, Natalie Mary Lorimer. Sarah Titalio Faruqai. Agne Garite. Samantha Jane Helen Kelly. Sophie Tuli Lupinen. Rachel Marie Watt. And in journalism and creative writing and human resource management, Ailey Sarah Catherine Armstrong. Paul Lachlan-Carruth. And in journalism and creative writing and law, Katrina Hawkins. And in journalism, creative writing, politics and international relations, Eliara Picato. Ikra Farouk. Caitlin Traynor Gilroy. Lauren Claire Harker. Mishka Hussain. Brooke Sterling. And in journalism and creative writing in Spanish, Liva Nagli. And in Spanish and education, Chloe Alexandra Craig. Nicola Eady. And in Spanish and French, Paul Andrucci. Danielle Moira Carty. Marianne Elizabeth Docherty. Nicola Rayburn. Ryan Hardy. Ellis McCusker Thompson. Sarah Mackenzie. Amy O'Brien. Michael Taylor. Shannon Coggle. Rachel Leck. Shannon Mary Rush. And in Spanish and History, Lara Jane McCall. And in Spanish and Human Resource Management, Cara McElhenney. Guavrav Randev. And in Spanish and Italian, Laura Welsh. Alana Bar Renhan. And in Spanish and Marketing, Jennifer Brannigan. Sarah McElhenney. Ciara McShane. Kirsty Shaw. Laura Amy Thompson. And in Spanish and Politics and International Relations, Ailey Jean Maxwell. In Hospitality, Tourism Management and Spanish, Elizabeth Bastidas. Frederica Smith. And in Humanities and Social Sciences, Nicholas Fitzgerald. Sarah Dawson Gallagher. Kristen Leanne Elise Gilmore. David Hepburn. Alison Murray Lynch. Gillian Isabel McCann. Mary Ann McHugh. Stephen Douglas Messenger. Jennifer Orr. Rebecca Beth Quinn.
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, and most of all, Strathclyde University's newest graduates, it is my pleasure to once again warmly welcome you to our graduation ceremony here in the Barony Hall. Quite rightly, our graduates have been centre stage, and I would like to begin my address by congratulating all of you once again on your academic achievements. Your hard work has paid off, and this has now been recognised in front of your families, friends, and the staff who taught and supported you during your time at the university. And under the lights of this magnificent venue, we celebrate your efforts and your achievements. Well done indeed. Now, in a short while, at the close of graduation, you'll be asked to join the academic procession as this leaves the Barony Hall. This invitation actually symbolises the fact that you are no longer students, but full members of the academic community of Strathclyde, a community that numbers over 170,000 individuals. The class of 2018 is graduating at a time of considerable change in Scotland, in the UK, and internationally. And there is no doubt that challenges lie ahead for us all. However, as members of the Strathclyde family, you belong to a large, growing worldwide community with a shared ethos of tolerance and understanding and a desire to make a positive difference. I hope that the memory of today is something that will stay with you wherever you go and whatever you choose to do in life. We will keep in touch with you through our alumni network, and I would ask you also keep in touch with us. Let us know what you're up to, what you think about what we're doing at the university, and what you would like to do to help future generations of students. As graduates of a socially progressive university, you have a competitive advantage, having been equipped with the skills, know-how, and capacity to absorb knowledge together with the ability to positively influence and shape the world around you. Nelson Mandela once said that education was the most powerful weapon you can change the world. Do not underestimate this power or your responsibility to use it well. In Scotland, we are fortunate in having a higher education system which is internationally respected, and as a society, we are quite right to invest in it. Education broadens the mind and creates opportunities for individuals and for society. However, education itself does not confer rights. The opportunities that education gives each of us also carries with it a responsibility to use what we've learned wisely and for the good of others. A sense of duty should come readily to graduates of this university. As Strathclyders, we only have to look to the achievements of those who have gone before us for our inspiration. To John Anderson, our founder, who established this university for the good of mankind. To the world's first oil man, James Paraffin Young. To the missionary and explorer, David Livingstone. To John Logie Baird, who did such pioneering work on the development of television. In the present day, we look to Dame Eilish Angelini, a pioneer in Scottish justice as the country's first female Solicitor General and later its first female Lord Advocate. And to Sir Tom Hunter, one of the most successful entrepreneurs in Scottish history, and a philanthropist who has used his wealth to the great benefit of others around the world. Now, I'm sure that you have been given lots of advice on how best to plan your life. Some of this advice you will rightly ignore, some you may accept, but most you will have to learn for yourself. Robert Louis Stevenson put it well when he said, "Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant." Now, to reach this point in your lives today, each of you will have travelled a different journey. For some, the path will have been relatively smooth. For others, this may have been more challenging. However, I am certain of one thing, that none of you would be here without the active support of your family and friends. They have picked you up when you have been down, they have encouraged you when you have needed it, and many will be here today, proudly watching as you cross this stage with broad smiles and the odd tear in their eye. Now, they are celebrating today not just because you're almost off the payroll, although there is some truth in that, but because you carry with you their hopes, their wishes, and confidence for a successful career. For the past half hour or so, their applause has rung in your ears as you each in turn cross the stage to receive your awards. I would now like to invite all of our graduates to show their appreciation for the support received from their family and friends. I touched earlier on some of the key figures who have helped to create and shape the University of Strathclyde. And you can tell a lot about the values of an organisation by looking at its roots. Strathclyde traces its lineage back to 1796, when Anderson brought it into being, the only Scottish university founded during the Age of Enlightenment and embodying the Enlightenment principles of reason, tolerance, and equality. Anderson's belief in useful learning and his commitment to taking knowledge and using this for the greater good is the motivating force which gives Strathclyde University its momentum today. This can be seen in our pioneering law clinic, where our students provide support and representation to people who cannot afford legal advice. And it can be seen in our business school, named the 2016 UK Business School of the Year in the prestigious Times Higher Education Awards. And it can also be seen in our Technology and Innovation Centre, which is transforming the way in which academics collaborate with business, industry, and the public sector to bring global competitive advantage to Scotland. And this is a tangible sign of the university's commitment to world-class research and ensuring that outcomes have maximum benefit to society and to the economy. These represent a small sample of the many innovative projects being led by our world-class staff and students in taking new knowledge and using it to solve problems in industry, in the classroom, and in the boardroom. I'm especially pleased to note that we are developing our campus to allow us to do even more. We have a new £31 million sports health and wellbeing building, along with a £20 million district energy network, both due for completion this year. And we're about to begin work on a new £60 million learning and teaching facility in the heart of the campus, bringing the total investment in our estate to more than £650 million over the last 10 years. Other faculty highlights over the year include the Confucius Institute for Scotland's Schools is moving to a new home in Strathclyde Ramshorn Theatre, which will undergo a £2 million refurbishment to develop a public access hub for Chinese language learning and culture. Professor David Kinloch of Humanities was shortlisted in the Poetry Book of the Year category of the Saltire Literary Awards. The MCR Pathways programme, in which Strathclyde is a partner, received the People Make Glasgow Award and the Inspiring City Awards, and this venture provides mentor support to pupils who have experience in the care system. Dr. Elspeth Jagielska and Dr. Caroline Verdier, both of the School of Humanities, received Scottish Government Arts and Humanities Awards through the Royal Society of Edinburgh. Dr. Elsa Richardson of Humanities was chosen as one of the BBC and the Arts and Humanities Research Council's 10 New Generation Thinkers for 2018. And Strathclyde has been ranked first in the UK for journalism and social policy in the recent Complete University Guide. Now, these are just some of the many contributions being made by your staff and students across the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. And Strathclyde is being increasingly recognised as a place where things happen, and this is why our graduates are so highly prized by companies and organisations looking to recruit the best talent to drive their businesses forward. Our success is in no small part due to the collective efforts, talent and commitment of our staff, the 3,700 colleagues who deliver our vision as a leading international technological university. Like me, they are very proud of your achievements. All of our students learn how to be innovative, enterprising and creative, and they make a real difference when they go out into the workplace. So wherever your career takes you, always remember that as a Strathclyde graduate, useful learning carries with it responsibilities that go beyond academic scholarship. And finally, let me offer my sincerest congratulations to you all once again on your achievements, and I hope that you enjoy the remainder of what is a very special day. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that now concludes the formal part of this afternoon's proceedings, which I hope you've enjoyed and you'll take away very many happy memories of your loved ones receiving their awards. I would remind you that we've got a reception over in our Lord Todd building immediately after this ceremony will close. I'll take this opportunity to invite all of our graduates to join the academic procession, and if I could ask, ladies and gentlemen, for you to remain in the hall until the academic session passes and then immediately follows over to the reception. I now formally declare that this congregation for the conferment of degrees is closed.